The Congress's hard turn to the left seems to be complete. Looking to counter the right-wing Hindutva surge, Rahul, the former party president, has been pushing the Congress party to the left from the centre, much to the dismay of the old-timers within the party. If the Congress is voted to power, Rahul has promised to conduct a survey to run a check on who possesses wealth in the country and to undertake an exercise to redistribute the same. He's also promised a caste census and then a financial and institutional survey. Is this the new way for the Congress to counter the right? Will the Congress party be able to reinvent itself? In fact, is this the new trajectory the Congress is going to go down? Joining me to discuss this Congress's left hard turn are Renni Abraham and my colleague Kartikeya Sharma. Welcome to the News9 Plus Show, gentlemen. Kartikeya, seminal moment in the history of the Congress. It's finally made a left turn with this kind of manifesto promises. Rahul Gandhi's promises of wealth redistribution. Is the Congress's hard turn to the left finally complete?
You see that I would say that the Congress party was an amalgamation of a leadership which was left in nature, but a large section of the party which was right in nature.
Right.
Jawaharlal Nehru, Govind Vallabh Pant, they were all left-leaning,
yes,
but they were socially conservative. There are two things here.
Right.
So you had left-leaning people in terms of economy, but they were socially conservative,
yes,
culturally. Now, that was something beyond the domain of left in 50s and 60s, because left in itself was a political, social, cultural, gender ecosystem,
yes,
which was distinct from Congress, which was an amalgamation of lot of people, lot
right,
of thoughts, lot of ideology.
yes.
That tension was there in 1915 between Jawaharlal Nehru and, for example, Sardar Patel. That tension was evident on Somnath Temple. That tension was
yes,
evident when the Zamindari Act was brought in. They had to make amendments to the constitution lest people could go to the Supreme Court.
Right.
So by 1971, Indira Gandhi had taken a hard left turn.
Yes.
In fact, in one of the working committees of the Congress party, lot of people had discussed that how the land can be could be nationalized.
Right.
Then Chaudhry Charan
After the bank nationalization,
Chaudhry Charan Singh was opposed to it.
Yes.
Chaudhry Charan Singh was opposed to it. So lot of people felt that the Congress is taking a very hard left turn. It is
yes,
for this reason socialism, socialist was introduced in the preamble of our constitution.
in the 70s.
Yes.
Right.
Now coming to Rahul Gandhi, when we say left turn, this is neo left.
Right.
This is more in tune with the people we see in London.
Yes.
This is not a
The caviar communists.
caviar communists, or you can say that more like UK communists,
Right.
or
right,
more like UK left.
yes,
They are against the mainstream economic policies of the United Kingdom. In India, the problem here is the Congress hard left turn
yeah,
is problematic because the left turn in itself is the same. The left turn in economy sense is the same as BJP.
yes,
But it is also culturally adrift from where BJP is today.
right,
So it is left in economy, but there is no social conservatism which connects them to the mainstream North
Right.
Indian politics.
Right.
That is why this hard left is reducing them politically.
yes.
That is the problem.
To south of the Vindhyas, you think?
I would say even the south of Vindhyas are not immune to this. I
Yes.
remember as a child in school, people used to say BJP will not get more than 80 seats. And I would say, why? They would say, it's a Banya party,
Yeah,
it's
it's
confined
north
to,
of the Vindhyas,
it will confine to
absolutely
Uttar
Hindi,
Pradesh.
heartland, upper
The
caste,
fact of
all
the
of
matter
that.
is that the ideology has expanded.
Yes.
Now there will be a pushback. And then I think the last battle of that ideology is in Tamil Nadu.
Yes.
Dravid.
When it's against Dravidianism.
Yes, yes,
yeah.
that's the last battle, and
Right.
that is why Prime Minister even today in the rally which was held in Tamil Nadu said that I go to so many Ram temples in
Yes.
Tamil Nadu.
Right. He's trying to invoke the Ram
Cultural
temple,
connection. So
cultural
Congress
connection,
hard left turn, I think, is a reworking of Congress by Rahul Gandhi.
Yes.
But what he has done is the hard left turn is okay when it comes to economy.
Right, right.
BJP's policies are also leftist
Yes.
in nature in terms of Labharti.
Yes.
But they're socially conservative. Their connection with the cultural roots are there. Congress, on the other hand, has not been able to define itself. That is where the problem is.
That's the problem.
And
in
that's
fact,
why the Muslim League comes in.
right. But Yeah, and you know, like you mentioned, Kartikeya, the fact is that the Congress is a deeply socialist party, and it was Narasimha Rao was a bit of an aberration.
Absolutely.
He came out of nowhere, and 5 years he steered the party away. Otherwise, I think the core of the Congress, as you correctly mentioned, is a deeply socialist, left-leaning core.
People were left-leaning when it came to economic policy.
Yes.
Pranab Mukherjee said this.
Yes.
I was left-leaning when it came to politics, but I was socially conservative. I was religious.
Right.
Didn't he write in his memoir?
Yeah.
Could you have arrested any other Dharam Guru?
Right.
But you arrested the seer from Tamil Nadu in 2004?
The Shankaracharya.
Shankaracharya.
Yes.
So they were religious, part of the cultural festival, but left-leaning. That was the Congress party. But this is left-leaning without getting connected with your cultural Ganga.
Nikhil Jain joins us now. Nikhil, this Rahul Gandhi's proposal to tax the rich, redistribute wealth, what are you making out of this? Is this a hard left turn of the Congress? I mean, they've completely run out of options now and they're just going for broke for the 2024 elections. What's your take?
Absolutely not, Sandeep. I think what the Congress is doing right now is the fundamental steps towards changing the economic outlook of the country that the Congress did after independence. You look at the land reforms in the country. That there was this concept of zamindari system, which I think started during the Mughals and the British, let it prosper and it helped them administer the colonial rule better. But what the Congress did was that it replaced the zamindars with giving land to the peasants, people who were
land
living
reforms. Absolutely.
Land for generations. They became the owners of those lands, and a large section of the beneficiaries became now those castes which we call the OBCs, the Jats, the Gujars, and many of them, right? So when the Congress party is talking about a wealth redistribution now, I think there would be a section of the society who might think कि अरे अमीरों से पैसा लेके गरीबों को
they're coming for the suit boot sarkar.
I think the political messaging has to be very accurate on the Congress part, that when you talk about wealth redistribution, it essentially means taxing the rich higher, whether it's by a wealth tax, whether it is by progressive income tax, and then redistributing that chunk of the nation's growth into those who are less advantaged. Like, there is no reason why a person should have 100 Ferraris and why somebody should not even have a cycle. Somebody who can afford 100 Ferraris, very well for the government to take 20 of them and use that to give, I don't know, cycles to 2 million people. That is the entire point of it, that we cannot have a development wherein a certain section of the society, even if it's 1 million people, they live the most ostentatious lives, while hundreds of millions of people are suffering below the poverty line. And this is, I think, the need of the hour, whether we call it leftist, whether we call it welfarist, whatever we do.
I have fundamental disagreement on this. You know, the right to redistribution has only been done in totalitarian systems. Whether they are communist or the Nazis did it, They redistributed the wealth. The state has the right to tax the rich. The state has the right to tax the rich. State has the right to ensure equity. State has the right to provide for the poor. But to take away something is a very problematic issue for me. Again, that is why I gave you that example of when Indira ji was the Prime Minister. The working committee had discussed nationalization of land. And that is where the first schism in the Congress took place. OBC leaders left and they constituted the core of the Janata Party. Issue is you have right to tax the rich, but the right to redistribute is something different. The only time this country has done it by amending the constitution is the Zamindari Act. Zamindari Act. And that was the requirement of the time, Zamindari Act. And that was something which Panditji did it. There is no disagreement with it. But how do you redistribute taking something from an industrialist and who will decide that in New Delhi is very, very problematic.
Well, Renni, this point of redistribution of wealth, I mean, how do you see this? This is a Congress returning to its roots, doing a new land reform movement, what they did in the 50s, they're doing it now with the capitalists, the wealthy class. As Nikhil mentioned, the guy with 100 Ferraris and someone who doesn't have, even a cycle. And that's a kind of debate that's slowly being built up, if you look at within the Congress as well. What's your take on this?
Well, I would like to also, just like Kartikeya did, hark back to the early 70s, 73, 74 fiscal year when the bank nationalization took place in India. I mean, till before that, we had the Tata Bank and the Birla Bank, the private banking institutions. And so we saw what that did. But I would like to add here, if you were to hark back still further to Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru's time as Prime Minister. That was the time when you had a hardcore leftist, J.P. Narayan, who subsequently came to political
Jayaprakash
fame.
Narayan, yes, of course. JP and yes.
Of the emergency days. But
Right.
when he returned from USA after his graduation and post-graduation, he was highly influenced by the Marxist philosophy.
Right.
And he, this has been captured in a PhD thesis that was released by the Mumbai University in 2015 by Dr. Mary Thomas, who had written about these days. And when he had returned, would you believe it? He was received at the airport by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. His wife used to be living in the Sabarmati ashram with Gandhiji, who was well aware about what his learning process was in the USA at the Berkeley University, and how he had to do a lot of jobs to sustain his academic career because fees had gone up. But the same JP Narayan, who returned as he had studied under a professor, I forget his name, who was known as the father of Marxism in those days. So he came with that leftist orientation. He was inducted into, received by the PM no less at the airport, and Jawaharlal Nehru told him that you will be mentored by Mahatma Gandhi.
Yes, and in fact, they formed the Kartikeya, the JP and the Lohia, Ram Lohia formed the Congress Socialist Party,
my
the
argument
core
is,
within the Congress.
See, you have the right idea and the right time. You have the wrong idea and the wrong time.
Right.
Capitalism has welded itself in many successful democratic societies, not just as a complete laissez-faire, but as a welfare state.
Right.
I think that is the consensus in India. If you start re-socializing it, this is my personal opinion, you are going to open up social and political fissures, which are anyway on the higher side today in India. I mean, so if you look at Gandhiji or if you look at Sardar Patel, the whole idea was in consensus building. Sardar Patel or Gandhi were not against capital. Where was Gandhiji saying throughout his life? Was he anti-poor? He was staying with the richest people in this country.
Right, he was subsidized by some of the richest.
He stayed with the richest people. What did Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel do? I mean to say, if even the mixed economy idea has been attributed to so many other people as been Nehruvian idea, it was Shyama Prasad Mukherjee. You see, we have to understand. We have to understand that there has been a part and parcel within the Congress and ideology which feels very okay with money, capitalism and enterprise. Morarji Bhai. The biggest fissure which Morarji Bhai with Indira Gandhi had was on the economic issues. So my idea is that when we talk about the leftward turn of Congress party, I don't see primarily in context of its economic policies, because even Modi is left when it comes to its welfare system. If I have to popularly define
Welfarism,
it, my issue is you can have left-leaning economic policies, but I again quote that gentleman, Pranab Mukherjee, because I had the great opportunity to interact with him on multiple levels. If not connected with the social and religious roots of this country, which is deeply religious, you have a problem in your hand.
Yes, absolutely. And Kartikeya, we are talking about welfarism at a time when the United States, no less, is planning to waive student loans, and could be one of their biggest such SOPs. It will be the biggest revdi, if you can call it that, in the history of the United States. It's going to cost them something like $500 billion to $1 trillion to waive off student loans. I mean, President Biden is fighting with his back to the wall. But here, I think, as you mentioned, the Congress is looking at extreme welfarism in this case. It may not be an extreme hard left turn, but they're talking of extreme welfarism, and they're going to fund that probably by cutting down on, say, capital expenditure spending. Why do we need 6 lakh crore on infrastructure? We can cut down on that. Start paying the people more.
I would say that there is an issue here. In 1950s and 60s, the money or the Bombay Club did not have organizational political muscle. Today they do. The articulation of Mumbai, or if I may say Hyderabad, why should I say Mumbai, or Bengaluru or Chennai, they can articulate themselves organizationally. That what was that famous letter of J.R.D. Tata to Panditji? On why is he supporting Swatantra Party? And what did Panditji say? You can waste your money. This idea is not going to function. So I'm saying that at that point of time, those policies work. But today, in an aspirational India, I don't know how Mr. Gandhi is going to calibrate that, because if you ask any person now, they would like to do things which they see on net.
Absolutely.
I mean, say for me, exposure to the world was something which my parent could afford for me, and I don't think many would do. Life magazine and National Geographic.
Right.
I would get Sunday Times on every Sunday, and I don't think many people got it.
Yes.
I lived in Nizamuddin.
Right.
So yes, I come from a privileged background. But I would wait to see the world. But today, you need this mobile phone.
Right.
They're already
India.
exposed.
Right.
So the whole issue of the hard left turn is that is it good enough to combat BJP or not?
Right.
My understanding is it's not composite in way that it encompasses various social and economic interests.
Right. Nikhil, you had a point to make.
Finland, Sweden, and Nordic countries, which are consistently ranked among the happiest, most developed, and the highest on HDI parameters. These are countries that do engage in wealth distribution, despite being the best performing democracies in the country, in the world. Secondly, when we talk about what the Congress Party's economic ideology is, I think Kartikeya answers it himself when he talks about the fact that Gandhiji used to live in the houses of the richest people of the country. The Congress was never a hard left or a socialist, a communist party in that sense. What they've always
because you had a very powerful communist party there, right?
Fair enough, but the point is that what the Congress has always promoted is welfarism. Whether that welfarism is from a command structured economy as was in the 50s or from a liberalized market-based economy as was in the 90s, but the key for the Congress Party has been this welfarism. When Kartikeya talks about a privileged upbringing and growing up in Nizamuddin, having access to National Geographic magazine, I also did have access to that, and I feel that is what everybody in the country has a right. The masses should have access to that. Nobody, I don't think when Rahul Gandhi talks about taking away, wealth redistribution, he wants to take away that National Geographic from Kartikeya or my hand. I think what he wants is to tax the people flying in private jets so that every normal Indian can have access to these things. Also, what one problem with the capitalism that people generally not see, and let me be clear, I am a capitalist. It's just that sometimes when you have too much concentration of wealth in the hands of a few, it leads to monopolization in sectors that stifles, innovation and development, which at a larger level, at a macro level, does reduce your economic output. So it is all about giving access to the wealth of the nation to everybody. And last point, on the bank nationalization that we've been talking about, it's of course a very controversial step. It was of course a very controversial step, but had it not been for private banks coming under the control of the government, we would have never seen the kind of social banking that we've all seen in the past 20 years.
Right.
The Prime Minister is, really likes to talk about Jan Dhan accounts, and rightly so. That's a very good positive step for the people of India. But imagine if you only had the Yes banks and the
private sector banks, it could never have been done. Absolutely,
Could never have been done.
There's no debate on that.
That's the entire point.
But Kartikeya, closing remarks on this, the fact that, my question is going to be that, has Rahul Gandhi actually set all of this in stone? It will be very difficult for the Congress to roll back on all of this. We've seen it in Karnataka, the kind of promises that they've made. They've fulfilled all their manifesto promises, and that is going to be the formula in other states as well. But here at the center, all these manifesto promises of wealth redistribution and all that, has Rahul Gandhi actually put the Congress on a path that it's not going to find it easy to
see, in some of the states it worked. For example, it worked in Himachal, it worked in Karnataka, it has worked in Telangana. It didn't work in Rajasthan, obviously, because they were fighting with each other. And it didn't work in Chhattisgarh because the first and second were fighting. And this was the case in Rajasthan, it was the case in Chhattisgarh, it was the case in Madhya Pradesh. Top 2, top 3 were fighting. Larger issue is that at a state level it can work, Sandeep.
Right.
But right now people will vote for the Prime Minister.
Yes.
Congress wants to fight this organization district by district. Understandable. The same argument they would give when they fought Gujarat before 2019. But I think right now they would need a person to stand up to Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Yeah, because it's a presidential
he has
fight.
set the term.
Yes.
So this cannot be an election between an individual and organization. I remember in 2014, Jairam Ramesh gave an interview.
Yes.
And he said this is an election between an organization and an individual. It didn't work.
Right.
I think the sentiment has changed.
Yes.
And I think what we witnessed as youngsters, Sandeep, there's a word in Hindi called apavad.
Right.
From 1998 to 2014, that you had duality in Indian politics.
Yes.
I think the larger nature of Indian politics is that you have one dominant party and number of smaller regional parties from 1952 1952
Yes.
till 1989.
Right.
One dominant party, multiple parties, and no one getting numbers more than 60.
Yes.
For this reason, from 1952 till 77, you didn't have proper leader of opposition.
None.
You have a leader of a parliamentary party. So similar thing has happened after 2014.
Where the BJP has now displaced the Congress. And
Absolutely.
You have the opposition that's been downsized.
Absolutely. So we are witnessing a new equilibrium.
Yes.
And if he wins this time,
Yes.
it will set.
Right.
And if he doesn't, and he has an alliance,
Right.
then it will take some more time.
Right.
But then if he wins, that equilibrium will set for a couple of decades.
The equilibrium, as Prashant Kishore mentioned, that 10 and 20 years is going to be for the BJP, and India's polity has turned towards the right.
Sandeep, we data crunched. If you look at Telangana and Karnataka, where Congress party won because it was able to cannibalize vote of the JDS,
Yes.
and it was able to cannibalize vote of BRS. The Hindutva vote remained static, and in Telangana it went up. So it is very clear, wherever Congress is winning, it is cannibalizing its old regional vote. The Hindutva vote stays. So Congress, if needs to go up, it needs to take off those parties which have actually been born out of their organization.
Right, absolutely.
It's very clear.
It's very clear that it looks like it's the BJP that's going to be the dominant political force of the next couple of years, and this election 2024 is going to be a crucial match in that sense. It will decide the future of
I would say we need a leader of opposition in Lok Sabha.
Absolutely. You need a certain critical mass of seats for that, but it remains to be seen if the Congress's hard left turn, welfarism as my guests have been speaking of, will actually cut ice with the electorate. That's a contest that we're going to be watching intensely in the run-up to June 4th, 2024. Thank you very much, Nikhil and Renni, and my colleague Kartikeya Sharma for joining us this evening.
Streaming on News9 Plus. News is now content. Subscribe and get free vouchers.